and welcome to Kitchen Chat. I'm your host, Margaret McSweeney, and I'm so excited you're joining me here in the award-winning Viking and Cornue showroom in the Merchandise Mart. I'm here with my co-host, Chef Jaime Laurita, who is the brand ambassador for Viking, and I am just thrilled for you to meet once again, because he's been on Kitchen Chat before, Donnie Madia, Outstanding Restaurateur for James Beard in 2015, and an outstanding person. Welcome to Kitchen
Margaret.
Chat.
Thanks. Thank you both.
I love this one description on the website, which talks about how you are really typify the art of collaboration. And collaboration seems to be a key ingredient of your success through the years. Can you share with us about how that works both professionally and personally?
Well, I can credit a lot of the collaboration based on a soundbite that my business partner Terry whispered in my ears many, many years ago. No one person's bigger than the whole. So I think what's interesting about that is I can't do it all. Paul can't, my business partner, Chef Paul Kahn can't do it all. Terry can't do it all. You know, all of our restaurants are hopefully successful by collaboration. You know, front of the house, the kitchen is handled by Paul. In the early years, we only had one restaurant, so that was cut up by sections. My business partner, Ricky DeArmond, handled the bar and the wine, curation of wine, and our other youngest member, Edward Shaitan, Cinderella story, came here from Romania with his family, saved his money, had an opportunity, worked with Rick. He brought him in. We needed money. So we took him in and he became a partner, and then I took care of the front of the house reservations, guest relationships, and Paul cooked. And I think what we got out of this is that if we only did, I don't know, 1 or 2 dinners a night, we can handle that without any staff. So hopefully that's a cheerful or joyous experience of 20 years ago.
And
wow.
I can't imagine how many dinners a night do you do now?
Look what we have here. We have Blackbird, Avec, the Publican, the Violet Hour, Big Star, Publican, Quality Meats, Nico Osteria, Dove's Luncheonette, Publican Quality Bread, Publican Tavern at O'Hare, Publican Anchor. How many restaurants are there?
Pacific Standard Time is a new one
Yes,
too.
and that's a
Yes.
great one we hear.
It sounds great. You know, you have this many restaurants, but there's also the staff members that take care of these restaurants like they happen to be their own restaurant. And without our staff, Terry, Paul, Edward, Peter, Kimberly, all the partners couldn't run from one place to another to make sure that each guest was happy. So we have to not just uplift, but give our staff autonomy and give them responsibility to take care of guests and make them happy. So it sounds great.
On paper.
Yeah, it looks great on paper, but the juggling act of all of these restaurants also has to do with a lot of responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I posted our kitchen chat on Facebook, and Barbara Lazaroff immediately commented and saying, "Oh, to tell you hi
How
and
is
such
she?
wonderful
How
memories
is she?
she had." She's doing great.
She's a nice lady.
Yes,
And an incredible force to reckon with. Designer, restaurateur, you know, she just does it all, and she's everywhere and knows so many people, and she's so gracious as well.
yes.
She's
and
very gracious,
So
and
Donnie,
a beautiful lady as
oh
well.
yes, and so sparkly.
Yes.
Barbara Lazaroff, we love her. So when I live in Bucktown, and every time I walk past Big Star, it's just jamming. And Dove's is right next door. Who picks the location? Because as in everything else, and in real estate and the success of restaurants, a lot of it is based on location. So who does that?
Interesting story. So I office in the West Loop, and my other business partners, Peter Garfield and Terry Alexander, officed in Wicker Park, your neighborhood. And above the Violet Hour, this roof where it houses all of the HVAC, and they would go out there and clear their heads sometimes. And Peter and Terry would look across the street at this space, which was Pontiac Cafe at the time, many, many years ago. And they said, man, that would be a great location if we ever got it. Terry's dear friend who owns Milk and Honey Granola, Carol Watson, she actually had her Milk and Honey a little cafe where Dove's was. The landlord who owns the space, Dove's, the space, that building, and the Pontiac Cafe, asked her if she would like that because the lease was coming up, and she goes, I don't think so, but I might know some restaurateurs that would like it. She made the introduction. We sat down with her and the landlord, and we carved out a lease, and we took over the space, and well, we came up with a concept, but that's how it all came. Looking above the street down at Pontiac Cafe and looking at this beautiful outdoor cafe that was developed, but it could have been it could have been developed even more, and that was the thought process. Like, big outdoor cafe, great food, accessibility, more, instead of doing a white tablecloth restaurant, it just rang that the energy outside for people that live in this city, as you know. What do we have? 100 days of summer a year. They want to be outside. They don't want to be inside. So anytime you have a patio that seats that many guests, you're hopefully that you'll fill it and people will continue to come.
Full.
Yeah.
And I hear that's where the chefs go to eat. After a long day of cooking, they really just love going there.
Cheap eats, great bourbon, great beer list.
And why the name
inexpensive.
Why the name Big Star?
Anytime you name a restaurant, it's like naming your son or daughter, a new child, and it becomes so competitive. And I have actually coined it like the name game. Like, who's going to win the name game? and there's this territorial remarks about, no, I like mine better, you're better, this is better. Well, I talked to so-and-so, they love that name better, and your name's okay. And so Terry and Paul are big music fans, and there's this great band called Big Star that we took influences from, because one of the album covers that they have is this yellow neon of the 5-pointed star. So I think I can give them credit for a little help. Thank you. But that's how it all came to be. The star, 5-pointed star, and then Tony Fitzpatrick, iconic artist who's lived and worked in the Wicker Park neighborhood for years, and loves and also is an historian of writers and artists in that neighborhood. He threw his hand up and said, I want to give you my 5-pointed star, which is yellow, black, and red. Gave it to us because I want to leave a legacy to this neighborhood, and that's how the 5-pointed star came to be even more announced in that neighborhood.
Wow, I'm glad I asked that question.
Yes,
that was great.
Is a
Good
great
question.
And speaking of big stars, a big star is your family. That is so important to you. Can you share with us, how old is your son now?
So Bronson's 5.5. He just started kindergarten. He loves school, I think. It's his second week. I dropped him off this morning, and he had a big smile on his face. And he didn't need my help. He knows where everything's at, so he ran up the stairs and, see you later, Pops.
I bet he brings the best lunches to
I
school
betcha.
ever.
Right?
Well, thanks to my wife, Estelle. She's an incredible cook.
And how long have you been married?
So we just celebrated, Sunday marked 6 years. We've been together since 2010. So 8 years together, 6 years of bliss marriage.
Wow, it's amazing.
I'm a lucky guy, man. I'm
You
so
are.
lucky.
Speaking of anniversaries, there's another big anniversary, 20th anniversary of Blackbird.
You're hitting all the marks, yeah.
Wow.
20th anniversary, December of 2017. So we're in our 20th anniversary year. And like I shared with you both earlier, we are so lucky and privileged. We're going to take this show on the road. On October 11th, we're cooking at the Beard House.
And speaking of James Beard, you have won so many awards, design awards for your restaurants.
Thomas
of course,
Schlescher, yep,
Yes,
3.
Outstanding Restaurateur, and the Violet Hour
for Best Bar
Yes.
Program. Paul's won 3, Best Chef in the Midwest in 2004, Who's Who in 2014. He shared that award with David Chang. And then he also won Outstanding Chef of the Nation, and I believe, was it 2014 or 2013? 2014, I believe. So yeah, we're blessed with great nominations, and we're blessed with some great awards that, well, it took 20 years, but
Hey.
it doesn't happen overnight.
Like Margaret says, God's trains run on time. So Donnie, I have to ask you, where do you go aside from your fabulous restaurants? Where do you go in the city to eat?
Yeah, great question, because my wife's a great cook, Estelle.
Right.
And it's interesting.
I get that. When you have a great cook at home, it's hard to go anywhere else.
Before being married and having my wife being such a great cook and a smart cook, she's plant-based now, so I'm watching a little bit more what my intake is, which is interesting. But we can get back to that in a minute. My go-to restaurants, I'm a big pizza nut. I'm a big fan of Dave at Coal Fire. I love his pizzas. I love Forno Rosso's. I'm not a snob. I'm not a pizza snob. I'll eat tavern pizza. I probably will have a half of a slice of a deep crust, but my son loves Loon Malnati's, which is also down the street on Randolph. So I eat all types of pizza. I love Parachute on Elston. I like that it's, they're trailblazers. They're off the beaten track, and that in itself is a commitment and also a responsibility to bring guests up that way. I mean, you've been there. You know what it takes to bring guests outside of a neighborhood.
I love the fact that you brought in pizza. I mean, pizza's one of those things, right? It's like one of those
It's love,
things.
right?
Yeah, pizza is
It's
love.
just love.
Hallmark
pizza
of
is-
Chicago.
Yeah, it is.
It's
There's
love.
and we talk about pizza a lot here in the showroom. We actually have the Viking Turbo Chef oven.
And you're lucky.
Yeah, because we make a lot of pizzas for our guests, because we can show them how to make a pizza really, really fast.
Yes.
But there's lots of great restaurants in Chicago, and Chicago being, one of the number one, I guess,
Yes.
in my mind, is the number one food city in the
Yes,
world.
absolutely.
I love the fact that all the restaurateurs, restaurant owners, chefs, there seems to be this really nice camaraderie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Instead of being competitive.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there's some competitiveness. I mean, there's some great restaurant groups out there. We have the Publican on Fulton. Across the street, Rich Melman just opened Beatrix, and now his newest restaurant on the rooftop that just got 3 stars from Phil Vitale. Credit to them. I believe it's Ama. I mean, Kuma's on the corner, La Serena. There are so many great restaurants in the West Loop, and they're gaining more momentum. But pizza just happens to bring it home. It's flour, water, great ingredients, white or red, with or without cheese. And I just think that I also like pasta a lot. So I do like the pasta that we create at Nico.
oh yes.
So I don't want to use one of our restaurants as that.
No, but you should,
Yes, you
because you do it right.
I think Chef Bill does a great job there, and his crew. They make incredible pizzas, and I mean, they make incredible pasta. So I'm really lucky. If I'm working there, usually Thursday or Saturday nights, I'll lean over to the line and ask them to politely make a pasta dish for me. And in the midst of the chaos, they're nice enough to do so. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
And
Yeah.
you said something so profound, that pizza, and I think also pasta, brings it home. And another thing that you really bring home is that of your heart for charity. And you're so supportive of Alex's lemonade stand. Can you share with us what compelled you to be so supportive and charitable for that?
I'll try and do it quickly, but that's a 13-year story. The Vetri boys out of Philly collaborated with Elizabeth and her husband to do one charity event on Broad Street in front of Osteria. And the Vetri boys have been running this event for 13 or 14 years. They now do it at the Urban Outfitter corporate headquarters, which is the backdrop of all the dry docked naval carriers in the naval yards. So this beautiful backdrop. So when you go there, they sell it out. I think they sell over 1,200 tickets, and they probably bring $1 million of research and development for pediatric cancer. So then Susan Goyne, Nancy Silverton, and Susan Goyne's business partner, Carolyn Stein, collaborated, and I just got back from LA. They're on the grounds of UCLA. 40 incredible chefs from LA and around the country. Great beverage people are involved. Jimmy Kimmel has a stake. I believe that they also rang over $1 million in funds for research and development. So not only are we involved here in Chicago with Tony Montuano from Spiaggia, Paul and I collaborate with him. We're not as lucky because we don't have that star quality here in Chicago. We have our own stars, but like yourself and you, but we don't have that Hollywood.
Right.
But we do it at Revel, and we raised around $400,000 for Alex's Lemonade stand, and it's in our 5th year. So, and then Paul does his educational process for educating children in public schools on how to eat, what to eat, what kind of food should be fed to children in schools, so they can not only feed their stomach, but they can feed their mind.
So important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So important.
That's great.
And a myriad of other charities that were involved with that were just in the background, but those are our 2 main charities, and MS as well, and the Chicago Food Suppository as well. So those are all important things that we're constantly involved in and giving.
And thank you for that.
That's incredible.
Wow.
And I noticed that, every time I see you, I have to say, every time I see this man, I have a thing for style and fashion myself. And people actually say, like, do you know Donnie Madia? Because he dresses really well as well. Talk to me about your passion for fashion.
Well, that's great. It rhymes. I don't know. I don't take it that serious, but I in trying to find my path of career, my journey, I sold clothes. I sold clothes retail, and I also sold clothes wholesale for a bit. And I believe that it's not only, it's what you see, but it's also historically, you look back at fashion and you look at some of the great movies, and I can't name them all, but Cary Grant, the way he carried himself and how he dressed, and I look at a movie like High Society, right, with Bing Crosby and Sinatra, just the way the men carry themselves, and I think that we should also, don't we have a little bit of responsibility? It's charity, bigger responsibility, but a little responsibility to maintain how we carry ourselves and how we should be responsible in meaning carrying ourselves in our dining room, taking care of guests, and if you want to be treated a certain way, maybe looked a certain way, and not that you're supposed to. If you want to wear jeans and you want to wear a t-shirt like I'm wearing, but there's also an opportunity to dress that t-shirt up as well.
Right.
Absolutely.
I
mean, you look great.
Thank you.
I just love
Thank you. I just love that you said that, because for me, it's all a matter of, it's how you dress. To me, is an expression of how you treat yourself. Mm-hmm. And for me, I always I resonate with all of those movies. It's very old school.
It is, right?
And when I was younger, I would look at those movies and I would look at those sophisticates, and I would say to myself, like, one day I want to dress like that. And I think men, especially in Chicago. I think men in Chicago have great style. The women always have, but I think men in Chicago, I notice that when I go to these events and I see you at these events and other men at the events, I think Chicagoans are more, they're more free with their style, and I like that about you.
Yes, you two are ready for a fashion shoot right here. But what I also love is that it's really, and my dad always taught me this, it's about presentation. Not only how you look, but also the plate, the presentation on the plate as well. So great lessons for that. But speaking of on the plate, you had started to talk about plant-based food. I am so curious about this change.
Estelle, my wife, she will not falter. Not a morsel. I mean, she'll eat fish a little bit, but cheese, butter, dairy, she cut that all out of her diet. Makes her feel better. She sleeps better. But I think I can incorporate a little bit of that, but also have some little evilness in it.
Speaking of going out and eating a lot and drinking a lot, we talked a lot about food, but when we talk about Donnie Madia, we associate all of this, the restaurant, the food, and all that. But what do you do for fun? Like, what does Donnie do? Like, do you have an art? Do you like do pottery, or do you paint, or do you sing?
Go out dancing.
What do you do for fun?
Tonight, I'm going to Burger Night every Tuesday. I try to go to Burger Night. I'm not plugging my restaurants, please understand.
Go back to food.
But tonight is Burger Night. It's every Tuesday at PQM, and it's so much fun. It brings a community of people, and tonight it's Boca versus PST.
Ooh.
So Erling Wubauer versus
that's going to be good.
Lee Wolin. So, and they're friends.
Of course.
So who's going to make the best burger? But also there's this camaraderie of chefs that go there and drink great beer, and we have people change seats and tables, and it's nice. So that's where I'll be tonight. And Estelle and I took Bronson to Disneyland. So there's a lot of activities for Bronson, and
you're focusing on
Yes.
you're focusing on the kids.
Can't be an invisible
I
dad.
love to hear that. I love to hear that, especially when I know a lot of people in the restaurant business and their family life, especially in the beginning, when they're growing, it gets compromised sometimes. So it's really great to hear that you're focusing on the fatherhood. I think that's wonderful.
I always like to end Kitchen Chat with 3 tips. So it can either be tips for the home chef, tips for the restaurateur, fashion tips, whatever, 3 tips.
Yeah, even a tip for
share.
someone that wants to get into the restaurant business.
Absolutely.
I think I can hit all 3 of those.
Wow, great.
So for the home cooking, maybe take a look at plant-based vegetables. My wife has this secret. She substitutes cheese with almond. She dissolves the almonds and creates a sauce out of this almond, and that's her cheese. So really, really tasty, and you can't even tell the difference. It's incredible. So maybe a little bit more plant-based diet in your home. As far as the restaurateur goes, I think being single-minded, I believe that there's a lot of new opportunities out there for chefs and young restaurateurs, meaning that retail has taken a different turn. So there's availability and new developments. So these new developments are going to restaurant groups, and they have different offerings, newer offerings. I think be pragmatic about the opportunity, be single-minded in the opportunity. Chefs and restaurateurs trying to do 1 or 2 things or 3 things at once instead of being single-minded, worrying about one thing. When we opened Blackbird, all we did was eat and sleep and think about being successful. And we didn't do anything for 5 years. All we did was think about how we could be the best little 65-seat restaurant in Chicago, maybe one day the nation. And we were single-minded about it. So that's what I would say to restaurateurs thinking about opening a restaurant right now. Be single-minded.
It's great advice.
Yeah.
And then the last thing about fashion. I think I'm one, maybe you are. I might be the last I might be the last guy that still goes into a store and touches and feels and talks and has a relationship with salespeople about the purchase. I don't. This is one of my idiosyncratic I'll tell you about. On the way here, I helped a lady get up the stairs for a minute, but I could have been a little bit earlier had I had an Uber app and taken an Uber. I was waiting for a taxi, so I don't Uber.
We're very much alike.
Idiotic, right?
No.
And then the other thing is,
take care of the
I
taxis.
don't buy anything online.
Wow.
Nothing. I have relationships for years. I go to stores, I talk to people, and maybe they can share something with me that I can't get in a booklet or washing through images of thousands of pants or shoes, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, it's going down or I'm going upward, and I'm looking, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore.
Right.
'Cause
I
I
wonder if
can't
a little
touch
bit,
it or
yeah, I
feel it.
wonder, well, feeling and touching, is very tactile, but with the pieces that I buy or that I find, it could be something from Ted Baker or even something that I might find in a thrift store.
Yeah.
Some of these things, or most of these things for me, have energy, and I have to identify with it.
Yeah.
I have to touch it. I have to form a relationship
to.
with it, right? And that's what I think good dressers do, is they form a relationship with their garments. And I believe too, when you pass them down, that there's a certain part of you within them. Same thing like a recipe or a memory, right?
Well, that's beautifully
well
said.
said.
And I feel that. I feel connected to all of the pieces. And even in my home, as a designer, I have things that I brought home from different countries that resonate energy. And I feel like that's very
beautiful.
connected with fashion as well, and food.
Oh, these are just great tips, and I especially love the one about relationship.
Right.
Thank you so much.
You did a great job. Your interview, your questions were great, on point, and
I'm just a sidekick.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no. I mean, you added to the energy using your word.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know every time I see you from now on, it's funny when you meet someone and you don't really know them or you don't talk to them. It's always in passing with you, and I know who you are clearly from the restaurant industry, but you're a pleasure to be with, and I would love to spend time with you. Maybe we can go to dinner sometime.
Let's
'cause
go
I
to
think we.
Big Star.
Yeah, for sure. You're a nice man. He's a nice guy,
you.
nice
Yes.
person.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So thank you, dear foodie friends, for joining me on this culinary journey here in the Viking and La Cornue showroom. Come visit Chef Jaime here at the Merchandise
I'm coming
Mart.
back.
Yes, great.
The product is beautiful in there, and the showroom's amazing.
You got to get some new Viking,
Yeah.
new Viking pieces. At home.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Really beautiful showroom, and thanks to Salim.
Yes. And you know Salim.
I do.
Yeah, isn't he great?
He's a great guy. He's a
Yes.
great man. He's got a great vision, and the showroom is spectacular. The product line is incredible. Your design is spot on.
Thank you. That means
Well
a
done.
lot to me.
Well done.
Absolutely.
I also like this detail. Is this Carrara or is
Yeah, it
this?
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Well done.
Yes.
See, this is a man who understands the details.
Absolutely. But thank you so much. Visit thevikinglife.com. Also visit Donnie Madia's great restaurants. Go to the James Beard House for his wonderful meal. And come into my kitchen too, kitchenchat.info. And always remember to take a moment and savor the day.